Okay, so we're up to our next she'elah. Let me just share the screen. We started this yesterday. So we had learned yesterday that in Bishat HaHalva'ah, okay, we did this already. We did this already about paying back food items on Shabbos. We talked about paying back early. And then the last thing we talked about is a married woman who independently deals in her own financial issues and makes a loan and then defaults on the loan. Does her husband have an obligation to pay her debts? So the answer that we were learning is Isha nesua hamit aseket b'mamon b'tzura atzma'it. If a woman deals with financial issues independently of her husband, Velivta ma'ot stam, and she just borrowed, she took out a loan without making her husband a co-signer. Ein habal chayav l'shalim. The husband has no halachic obligation to pay it back. Vim love to yachad in baila, but if she borrowed jointly with her husband, dinam kishnayim shalavu me'echad shechol echad mehem mischayev l'shalim kol ha'cha'orov. That then that she and her husband are no different from any two people who borrow jointly. Let's say take out a business loan, business partners. That each one of them is is jointly and what's the legal term? Severally and jointly responsible. Okay, chatzi chov midin loive v'chatzi midin arev. Each one is obligated to pay. Let's say they take out a loan for $2,000. Each one owes $2,000, 1,000 because he's a partner in the debt, and another 1,000 as a guarantor for his partner's debt. So each one is in the hole for $2,000, jointly and severally. And therefore, if two people default on a loan, so you start off with, as the plaintiff, if you're the lender, you start off with demanding repayment of 1,000 each from each person. And if one person pays 1,000 and the other defaults, then you can claim the other 1,000 from the original guy who paid you the 1,000. ולכן כשהאישה אין לה ממה לשלם, יכול לגבוס המלווה כל החוב מן הבעל, חציו מדין לויבה וחציו מדין ערב. So therefore, when a husband and wife borrow money, I send a bill to both of them for the $2,000 that they borrowed. And if the woman doesn't have her own wherewithal to pay, the husband has to pay the entire amount. But that's only when they were joint borrowers. But if the woman is an independent borrower and she does so independent of her husband, so then the husband is under no obligation. Okay.
What about a child? Same thing also? The father's not obligated to.
That's a very good question. Is it an adult child or is it a minor child?
Both. Well, I get the adult child, assume not. Minor child, I would probably say yes.
I don't know. I don't know what the first of all,
that's
you know, is a minor child with of the sound mind to take out a loan such that, you know, how can a parent be liable for a child's actions? In general, we know that a child who causes damage, the parent is considered to be not liable in most cases. We say mipnei darkei shalom. We say that in order to preserve the peace, a parent should make every effort to repair whatever damage a child causes. But technically, according to the law, a parent is not liable for even the damages that a child causes. So I'm not sure how it could ever be conceived that if a child is a minor, let's say under bar mitzvah, that a parent could be held liable for the child's actions. It's really the lender's responsibility. Let's say the child's over bar mitzvah and under 18, let's say. Halachically, the child is of sound mind. The child is capable of making creating his own debts. I don't see how a parent could be held responsible for that, even though the child is a dependent financially, but the parent is not a co-signer. The parent is not endorsed the loan, is not a joint borrower on the loan. So um, there is a shaila. What if the woman is the one who takes care of the mamon habayis? She takes care of the financial affairs of the household. So in that situation, the Shach writes, and he writes in this footnote, "Shekol ma shehilava chayiv habal l'shalem mipnei what? Mipnei takanat hashuk sheyisu v'yitnu imahim." That he writes that if a woman is in charge of the finances of the house, which is not really the same case that we dealt with in the text above, let's say, she's the one who does the shopping and she buys on credit at the makolet and they mark her down. So in that situation, the husband is going to be liable because
He just takes care of business. He's not in charge, he just manages it.
yeah, she's managing the finances of the household. So in that kind of situation, it's clear from the circumstances that she's representing the husband in that loan. Okay, so it all has to be taken into the proper put in the proper context. Okay, next. All right, let's see. Sheila bale chanuyot shenotnim motzrim bahakafa v'roshmim otam al pinkasam. Okay, so this is the next shaila going into the buying from the makolet stuff. Say store owners that provide products on credit and they write down whatever the buyer owes. Or when you buy food with a post-dated check, the question is, do I fulfill? I own a makolet and I sell people goods on credit because I know that's the way a large part of the Israeli population, that's how they get by. So the question now becomes, do I fulfill the mitzvah of halva'ah by selling things on credit? Let's say I'm a doctor and I see patients and I extend credit to them so that they can pay out their bills over 60 or 90 days. Or I'm a lawyer and I extend credit to my clients and I don't charge them, or I charge them, but they can pay out in installments. Have I thereby fulfilled the mitzvah of im kesef talveh ami, you shall lend my nation money? What do you think? Is that a mitzvah what you're doing?
It's a good deed.
It's a good deed,
You're helping them.
right?
That's your business.
An active loan.
I mean, it's also a business model. I might not be able to get the same number of customers if I demand cash and carry, right? So it's probably sometimes to the benefit of the service provider or the seller to extend credit.
What about on credit card? Same thing.
Yeah, yeah. So you could even ask the question, does Amazon fulfill the mitzvah of halva by allowing people to buy on credit cards?
In Israel, they allow you to pay very often over 6 months or 12 months on your credit card. They extend.
But is it there? Do you have to pay an interest? You have to pay
I
interest.
know, I never used the service, but I don't. They call it a strike, right? Do they charge you interest?
They don't. They just split it. So 2,000 shekels, might pay over 3 months, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000.
But it's pretty amazing.
The cover that's just like a split payment. Who are you paying the money to? The credit card company or the insurance company? Yeah, okay, so that's.
There's no payments for 6 months,
Part of the pitch.
Right.
But you're not actually offering them credit as such or making a loan.
It's part of the whole selling.
Your margin for that is built in. Like the whole idea of selling you that item not pay for 6 months. If you were to find a similar item somewhere else, another store, you might find it's a difference in price of whatever, $100 to $400, whatever. but it's the pitch that they use to get you in.
It's the sell.
So it's not, I would say it's not it's a marketing tool.
Okay,
Also, what we're talking about specifically about a co-ed. So the guy owns it.
So
He's
it's
doing a
small-
good-
it's
it's a good
small
deed
business.
for
But it's still a marketing tool. It's how he knows his clientele don't have ready cash all the time, but they get paid once a week, whatever it is. He knows that.
See that they have
Today's-
this notebook, they just have,
Yeah, exactly.
everybody has a
That's-
page.
yeah,
Comes in on credit and
Yeah.
they just
They just
mark it down and
Mark
once
it
a month
down.
they pay up almost every 2 months.
It
I guess we
always,
could look at it either way.
it always,
It's doing a type of.
yeah.
So
Well, look, I mean, it's,
the credit card company is offering it. It's not
but
a
you're paying
type
for it with a credit card company, because if you don't pay it off in the month, then you get charged interest. So it's not, I mean, it's not really.
okay, so the tshuva is hamocher bahakafa o shekona b'check dachui o shemocher davar be'ashrai, that if you sell on credit or you purchase with a post-dated check or you sell using a credit card, eino makayim bazeh mitzvahs halva. You're not fulfilling the mitzvah because Joby said it's passive, meaning there's no cash exchanging hands. It's you're giving someone merchandise without demanding payment right away. Aval yesh bazeh mishum gemilus chasadim, but you are fulfilling the mitzvah of gemilus chesed.
There.
Now, I don't even know whether you can call this gemilus chesed in many situations if that's my business model. So, but he's quoting the Chafetz Chaim. All right.
Jewish day schools ask for 12 chicks in advance. The number of chicks they ask for, it's all pre-dated.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's
Pre-dated chicks.
yeah, post-dated checks. Yeah, yeah.
12 chicks in advance.
There you go. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Shepetorani. Okay. Im yesh mitzvah lahalvos adam shechayev la'acherim below para. We saw this as well. Is there a mitzvah to lend money to someone who already has outstanding debts and hasn't made good on his debts? Mishalava mikama anashim ve'imo lahachzir le'achehem achav. A guy who's already borrowed money from others and does not have the wherewithal to pay it back. Hayim yesh mitzvah lahalvoso kedei sheyachzir es chava. Do I have a mitzvah to lend him money so that he can consolidate his debts and pay back his creditors? Oh, shal yedei sheyalvalo sikum gadol lo yihiyeh mamash lahachzir v'im kein adav shelo yalvalo. See, the problem with consolidating someone's debts is that if a guy can't pay back small debts, he certainly is not going to be able to pay back one large debt. So the question is, am I doing him a favor? Is there a mitzvah for me to do it? And so forth. That's really the question.
Or he lends him money and he wants more money. Okay?
Yeah, but sometimes the people who
Could be.
need to borrow the money because the interest on their debts are so high and you're borrowing it and it's interest free.
You may be doing him a favor.
You're doing him a favor because now he can afford to maintain it and pay it down slowly so the interest will be a lot.
But wouldn't you assume that in order for me to have a mitzvah to do this, he's got to have a plan. Like he's got to have some kind of way of knowing how he's going to get the money.
He could be teaching him how to manage his money as well, by helping him stretch out the payments, right,
Organize his debts.
organize, stay over, you know, and the reason, especially is about a reason why people get into these issues is because they just can't manage their money, for whatever reason. So if you're able to consolidate it and then work with that person to educate how to allocate their money accordingly. Maybe that isn't it.
Okay.
To help somebody.
You stretch the term out. You stretch out the term.
Stretch out the terms, right?
Anyone teach fish?
All right. Shuva. Loive shechayev lekamu malvim. Ein mitzvah lahalvoso kishahasikum hu gadol. So if a guy has a lot of creditors already, there's no mitzvah to lend him money to consolidate his debts. V'chein kishiyodim shehaloive lokeach halva v'yotzi osa shelo l'tzorech. And similarly, I guess unless you know that he has a plan and you want to save him and you want to help him, you want to mentor him. But another situation where there's no mitzvah is when you know that a guy's going to borrow money and then he's going to blow it on something frivolous. And then he's not going to have the ability to pay it back. Like, a guy is a bit of a scoundrel, right? So, he's going to maybe gamble the money away. He's got a gambling habit. Clearly, there's no mitzvah in that situation. Ein lahalvos la'adam kazeh kashit starich achar kach lenogso v'yavor b'chol pam mishum lo siya lo kenosha. So there's bichlal no mitzvah to lend someone money when you know it's going to be a problem to collect, because invariably you might violate the mitzvah of lo siya lo kenosha, do not become his oppressor. So, why would I want to put myself in that position where I know he's not going to be able to pay back the debt? He's an irresponsible scoundrel, and so I'm not going to do it. V'chol shahaloi v'tzarech halva'a l'tzarcho, af sha'achar kachi alav kasha l'shalim ki mitashlumin ketanim yesh mitzvah lahalvo. So, however, if a guy generally is responsible and he's just gotten himself in the hole, and it's going to be difficult for him to pay, but he will pay back in small installments, then there is a mitzvah to lend him that money. Now, of course, you have to make the assessment, the calculus, whether that's something that you're prepared to deal with, right? Remember, we learned before, if a guy wants to pay back in installments, you're not under an obligation to lend him the money. There's no mitzvah of halva if he's going to keep your money tied up for 5 years. But if you're capable of doing that, and you feel the guy will be responsible, so sure, are you makayim a mitzvah? Absolutely, you're makayim a mitzvah. There's sometimes, however, where it's better not to lend someone money when you know he's going to become irresponsible and he's just going to put himself further and further into debt. In other words, don't become his codependent. Don't allow him to just dig a deeper hole for himself. Okay, now we're up to the next packet. So I'm just going to bring that up. Okay. Next, Shaila. Do the people in TV land see? Let me just make sure you can see.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Okay, so here's the She'ela. I don't know what to call it. I just call it TV land. I don't what, yeah.
You
Okay.
can call it the Holy Land.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So the She'ela is as follows. Matzinu b'Gemara shenosaat v'notenet be'inyan ariv kablan ve'ariv stam v'yesh lishol ma hevdel bein ariv kablan la'ariv stam. This is all review, right? So we know the Gemara talks about an ariv kablan and a regular ariv. What's the difference? Does anyone remember the difference between an ariv kablan and an ariv stam?
Make a demand first on the debtor, or whether another liable as a primary.
That's right. So an ariv kablan is a person that agrees that he could be the first line of collection. And a regular ariv, a regular guarantor, is I'm only the secondary line of collection. You have to go to the debtor first, and only if the debtor defaults can you come to me. So the tshuva is as follows: Ariv kablan hakavana ariv shemakabel alatzma tachov legamrei ki ilu hulo ve'min hamalva ve'ein kan loiva. So an ariv kablan is a person that is described by the Gemara. Here, I'm just going to stop the share for just a second and then share the screen again because it's annoying, these lines. There we go. Okay, so he accepts upon himself the entire debt as first line of collection. And it's as if he becomes now the debtor. Okay, as if there is no other debtor. V'yachal amalva litvo lihipara mimenu tchila im yirtzeh. The alpha p sheyesh nechasim leloiva. And that's true even if the borrower himself has funds. Biyad hamalva litvo es mi sheyirtzeh im zeh es haloiva o es hakariv kablan. So nonetheless, the creditor has the full option to demand payment from whichever one he wants. He could say it's more convenient for me to collect from the Arev than from the borrower. ומה שאין כן בארץ סתם שקיבל על עצמו את אחריות החוב, אין המל ויכול לתבוע את הערב תחילה, אלא עד שיתפס הלויבה לדין תורה ויחייבוהו בייס דין. However, when it comes to a regular Arev, the lender cannot demand payment initially from the guarantor. He can only do so after he first demands payment from the borrower, takes him to a din Torah, the Beis Din holds him to be liable, and then v'im ein lelova mimal l'shalem rak az yifra min ha'arev yischayev ha'arev b'tashlomim. Then and only then, when the borrower defaults after being held liable by the courts, can I go to the creditor to the
Even if it's
to the guarantor?
if someone just owes the money, he signs, everything's legit, and it's a 1 year loan, and after the year, if he doesn't pay, how long do you have to wait then to go? Do you have to go to basic? Can you
I have
right
to.
away?
I have to. He says I have to send him a summons to Beis Din, and if the guy essentially defaults and the Beis Din, it could be the Beis Din will not require them to come to Beis Din. If a guy says to the Beis Din, I admit to the loan, I know it's due, the paper is clear, I admit signing the promissory note, but I can't pay, the Beis Din will give the creditor basically the judgment that he can collect from whatever assets belong to the debtor.
So today, like that situation that Ron was in, they go to him as the backup for not paying. So
Right.
these people went to a din Torah, they went.
I have no idea what they ended up
Like,
doing. It could be,
Got a normal loan, like, why would you, this would,
it could be,
Yeah,
it could be when all the parties agree, like
and there's no din Torah, if you don't pay, I'm coming to you.
yeah, and even if they didn't do that in advance, but let's say the guy defaults on the loan and he says, guys, I can't pay it back. So why take him to a din Torah? If everyone understands,
That's what I'm saying, so why have to go to a din Torah? Because if the process, because going to din Torah is not 2 days, it's gonna take months.
the only need for a din Torah is if the guy is being defiant. And he's saying, I don't know you money,
And
or
if he's not being defined, then what is the time frame of going to the Kabbalah stuff to go?
it depends. If everyone is in agreement that the guy has no assets, so then the creditor can go straight to the guarantor. But let's say the guarantor says, what are you coming to me? The guy owns a house, he owns a car, he's working, garnishes wages. I'm not going to pay you, right? You haven't exhausted your the efforts to collect from the original debtor. Foreclose on his house. And the guarantor has a right to say that, by the way.
No, I agree with all that, it just makes it difficult for people to want to lend money to people if they know they have to go through this whole process. It's wasn't like Tinel Dellis, they play love it or something like that. It's good to avoid people.
Yeah, so I guess if you put in the loan documents that if the guy gives you a hard time, you have a right to go immediately to
Okay, so it has to be
the guarantor. It has to be documented. All right, we'll have to hold it here for today. Have a great day, everyone.